It is my great pleasure to bring up an industry leader who has held senior leadership roles at companies representing every stakeholder in the marketing and media value chain. My friend, Kirk McDonald, CEO, GroupM North America. Come on up. That might be the best entrance yet.
Oh, yeah. Listen, first off, I just want to say thank you. This is incredible. Just to be back in a room with everybody, who feels excited about that, right?
I do.
And this hybrid thing, you guys seem to be doing this like you've had rehearsals, so pretty well done so far.
Well, not to take you behind the curtain, but we had a couple of, in the lead up to this, we stubbed a couple of toes, and we haven't stubbed them here, so that's good. So it's all good.
All good.
All right, so I think we talk about omni-channel. I think about your career as kind of like omni-channel. You've touched...
Or I can't keep a job.
Or you can't keep a job. Okay, there's that too. And you've been to ALM many times before. What's your hope? My hope is that we actually do something. What's your hope for coming out of ALM this year?
I love the theme, visions, decisions. And I think for us to make decisions, the mission all of us need to embrace is, let's align on the vision. Let's pick a few things and then get really decisive going forward. So it sets the stage for the task ahead. I loved your opening around impatience. We know the ills of the industry. We know its warts. We know all the good things that we did. But it's time that we actually really start looking for scalable standards that we can apply against all of the problems or issues in front of us. And that is going to require us to really align on vision and then be really decisive going forward. So I like the theme.
Yep. Thank you. We've been doing this together for a long time.
Yeah.
In kind of
in different roles.
Different roles, different places, but we've been we've been kicking around the digital industry for a long time. Characterize where we are today in digital versus, pick your time, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. How would you characterize it?
So, let's go back 10 years ago, right? So 2012, right? So at least we're beginning to realize in 2012 that data and technology were playing a critical part in consumer relationships. Even 5 years before that, I think we realized it was easier to move content to consumers than to force consumers into where content was. So around 10 years ago, we started thinking about data-driven advertising, data to be this sort of currency for communication. I still think we haven't fully understood what it means that the consumer is taking control, and that now we're following the consumer, and that this effort in anticipating their next need is really the secret sauce of success. And that means that it's not even data-driven marketing anymore, it's data-informed, which is a subtle difference, but an important one, which is that we can't drive consumers to do much anymore. An advertising role is a pushing mechanism. It was probably wrong in the first place. Now we actually have to use it to inform a relationship and understand that a relationship goes in two directions and provide value and authenticity along the way. I think that's where we are now. Now, we haven't solved the infrastructure issues to make that possible, but excited about the conversations to do that.
Yep, I think that's a good characterization. Let's talk about your move to the agency side. You and I had the good fortune of catching up over lunch before the holidays, and I remember that lunch well, and I'm going to paraphrase. This is not exactly what you said, but I didn't fill you in on what lay behind the closed door before you did that. And now that you've gotten the peek behind the door, I'm sure that there have been some good surprises and some less good surprises. Talk about that a little bit.
So, no, again, my entire career has been really on the publisher side, technology side, but I've never spent time inside of an agency. Even at lunch, I also said this, probably in the last 10 years, though, all the jobs I've had have been business transformation jobs, which is how do you look at the last 10 years of a business to understand where it is now, but recognizing that the next 10 actually didn't look at all like the last 10, and what do you need to do that to make changes going forward? The delights here were all of the amazing fundamentals and really, really progressive clients eager to push us to do the next interesting thing. So Out of that, we've created new products around data. We've data ethics. We've really pushed the edge on what we're doing in terms of DEI. So all of that has been great work. The surprises has been just this continued tug between the aspirations of the marketers and the business side of the house, and then we're still sort of struggling over, filling in spreadsheets and procurement. And that tension hasn't gone away, and seeing it up close is really interesting from this lens. It's a different one.
I think the sense of perspective is actually probably invaluable, and I touched upon it in my speech earlier this morning. GroupM has a kind of tagline or mission to make advertising work better for people. What does that mean, and how does that happen?
So it was what attracted me to the job, right? It's what I got most excited about. Been in the space a long time. Pretty much, there are a bunch of us in this room that consider ourselves probably the original, the OGs of digital, right?
Yep.
We're their very beginning. So I started at CNET in January of 1997, right? So saw a lot of this from that front row, and that's been interesting. But advertising since then, and especially in the last 15 years, has gotten itself a bad rep. Advertising as a discipline, as a craft, probably needs an ad campaign for the consumer. Consumers ask for ad-free and ad-light experiences, and we aren't doing anything to help them understand their relationship to free services and content, and how ads play a part in that. The industry's issues around bad actors and how bad actors have given us a bad name, that's the press that's covered, and yet still we as an industry haven't gotten together to really tackle those issues. So when the largest media holding company in the world says that it wants to make advertising work better, that's really a powerful statement. So CJ's leading that, Christian Jewell's my boss, to be able to do that across North America, take our investment dollars on behalf of our clients to really start fixing some of those relationships with the consumers in a way that allow for growth, but you even heard us talk about it yesterday with Mindshare. Allow for growth, but allow for good growth. Like, how do we do it in a purposeful, a very intentional way? How do we really dive into the relationship without being intrusive so that consumers benefit, our marketers benefit, and our people benefit as a process? All of those things were too exciting, and that's what I jumped in for.
And when you were over at Xandr, there was a similar kind of mnemonic. So it's maybe it was Kismet. We spend a lot of time talking about media and technology. We don't, in my opinion, spend enough time probably talking about the creative messaging consumer experience side of that. How do you think about that at GroupM?
So the benefit for us is, again, part of WPP family. So we actually think there's an important time to bring creative and media closer together. A lot of what even we have tried to do inside of the media arm of GroupM is really think about how we partner with so many of our media partners, many of which are in this room, around creating custom creative experiences and then following their guidance as to how we should help brands stand up in their environments. So it isn't just about let's buy the existing spots you've got, but let's actually use your platform in the best way that we can use your platform. A lot of this first started inside of social, but we're doing it all the way into TV right now, which is really creating unique experiences. And for those reasons, we launched a creative lab inside of the media part of our business. We've brought in our media creative experts to help us work with our partners to design custom experiences for brands.
Got it. I'm going to apologize in advance because one of the questions that I disliked when I was on the agency side is to characterize clients, right? So clients are, when you have hundreds of clients, thousands of clients, it's very hard to generalize, but just work with me if you can. If you were to generalize clients, what are the things that many of them are asking you to focus on? Business outcomes, custom data solutions, what is it? What's on the top list of what clients are asking today?
All of us have been affected by the last 2 years. We still worry about and talk about the pandemic, but we're also all still thinking about the sort of awakening of injustice and inequity, gender, racial inequities. All of that happened in 2020, right? And, and it's impacted us. It has accelerated a lot of the trends. So clients that knew that they needed to be purpose-driven to speak to Gen Z accelerated that and then realized, wait a minute, our authentic voice is tied to our integrity. Now, how do we actually manifest our commitment to DEI? How do we manifest our commitment to sustainability? What are we doing around solving some of the data questions that are on the way? And tying all of that to how we express our media. Again, I think that is, now we get to play this really important role of bringing brands to media partners to get to do all of those things together. Yeah, the conversation around, hey, outcomes-based models for how we work, that conversation has been going on. I don't think we have the model figured out. That's the unfortunate thing. I look forward to getting there, and I believe a lot of our clients would rather have us do some hybrid version of, hey, staff the work, but also generate the outcome and let's both benefit together. But the primary things that show up in a lot of the pitch conversations right now are, what are you really doing about DEI and how are we going to be different? Not just because we've got to do this because we said so, but our employees are insisting they see it, and we need to do it to be good about the way we grow. And I think that's a cool moment.
So let's double click on that for a second, because one of the things that we also talked about at lunch before the holidays is the lifeblood, in my opinion, of an agency is new business.
Yeah.
Those pitches are like putting on an ALM every time. You can't underestimate the length, the duration, the cost. What wins a pitch today?
I believe it's still ideas. We have to win hearts and minds. I really hate to be that trite, right? So the hearts are the emotion, the purpose, the full ideas, and the creative plans that we can put in place. So that's what wins the hearts. The minds are still, hey, can you get me those placements that I'm looking for? So I said earlier that there's a tension between sort of the spreadsheet. The reality is they have to work well together. So pick which one you care about, but one is sort of like par for showing up, and the other is the one that wins you over. And I find that the marketing leads, the business leads, still care about the ideas that we can bring to the table. What is creatively different about how we will execute for you that hasn't been done before? How do we actually help sometimes your large organization work better at even at communicating with itself effectively? And then, yeah, we do need to deliver on the procurement side.
Yep. I've got two more questions for you. We live in a shiny penny business. I think you'd probably agree. There's always something that is kind of capturing our imagination. What's the shiny penny of the moment for you? NFTs, crypto, social commerce, metaverse. Pick your flavor. What's interesting to you?
You mean the third life or the second life?
Web3, yes.
The second life of Second Life.
Yeah, the reincarnation of Second Life.
Yeah, the reincarnation of Second Life. We were at dinner last night, and someone was talking about their Second Life characters and personalities. All of them are shiny pennies. All of them are. I will say that for all the reasons that all of us are talking about, the metaverse, and all of us have known that augmented reality experiences have existed for a while now, so we've known. But I think our sudden attention on things like metaverse is just that it showed up in the press again, right? So less sophisticated are hearing about it. Crypto, blockchain technology, again, it's showing up in the press. Clients want to understand all of it. It gives us a great consultancy role. What we're saying is it holds a lot of potential for new opportunities, new permissions potentially in interacting with the consumer, as the consumer may want to have different experiences in one version or one reality versus others. We are yet to find out, but we're going to help advise along the way. I find that all of that eventually gets back to, quote unquote, the boring part of this, which is how do we measure it to be really valuable? And how do we know that the dollars are the right amount to invest to learn and the right amount to actually invest to return? And that's still where where the rubber meets the road on all of this.
Yep. Talent, we talked about this at the board meeting yesterday, talked about it today, talked about it yesterday. Talent, we're in a challenging time as it relates to talent in the industry, attracting, retaining, growing. Any words of wisdom, any best practices that you guys have figured out at GroupM?
I'm not going to give away my seat. No,
of
of course. I think it's a time that all of us need to actually work together on this. One of the CEOs of one of our agencies, I'll give credit to Louisa for this. She came back from her break and she said, we need to stop describing this as a talent crisis. It's talent opportunity, right? On the flip side of every challenge is opportunity. So the question is, how do you use that lens to look at where we are right now? And if you do, then you realize, well, what would actually make your environment more attractive to the best and brightest talent? And if you go into that type of thinking, then you do double down on your values and you start thinking around what are we doing around full employee experiences. And that's where we're putting a lot of resources right now, which is, we think of this sort of like, well, bring them on and farm them out to the client. Wrong. Why don't we actually allow them to think about what is some of the best work you want to do and invite them into new opportunities? And our clients are insisting on it. Right? We've won recently some large pieces of business you may have seen in the press, and those clients are literally saying to us, we want to be involved. We want to talk to to the talent that's working on our team. I had an offer from another client of ours who's here just yesterday to say, look, I'll host the events so that the talent that's coming on board know what they're getting from us. And this is about reward beyond just like cash compensation, which is what is the learning experience going to be like? How do I get to shape the voice of the brand? How do I get to get information back into the organization about what my generation feels is important? And we're turning that around in terms of our talent experience right now. And we'll see what the results look like.
So are you reasonably optimistic for 2022?
I am not more than reasonably. I'm bullish on the fact that that it'll be a differentiator for a lot of us, the ones who get it right. I love the program we've put in place, and I can't wait to really press on the gas with it. And I think it is going to make GroupM and our brands, Mindshare, Mediacom, M6, Essence, Wavemaker, and others, just one of the best places that smart, bright talent's going to want to come and work.
Got it. Awesome. Last question for you. I could do this for hours. I love shooting the breeze with you, maybe over a cocktail later tonight.
Not a bad idea.
Could we end with one thing that you ask the attendees of ALM to do, to think about differently, an ask for the industry, if you will? What would you implore them to do?
Honestly, it's going to sound like we planned this, so that's the unfortunate thing.
Well,
we planned being here, but my answer is not planned. I honestly believe that we are stronger together, the entire industry. Even those that are mingling outside, we are stronger with them, working with us. You got to make fun of them.
It's quite a cacophony outside.
You got to do that. I heard it said earlier. 27 approaches to solving things doesn't get us to where we need to be. The one message I'd implore in this industry, as now agencies are part of the conversation and at the table, can we figure out the things that we can put aside our differences on, recognize that it's not where we need to be competitive, that we're not adversaries when negotiating even the things we want to do going forward. For the whole industry to do better, we've got to work better together. That's it.
Better together. That's awesome. Thank you very much, Kirk. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks
a lot. Appreciate it.